All right, what is going on, Year 10s? I'm going to make you guys a video explaining the next part of your assignment, and that is going to be how you start writing your background information. Now, you've all done background informations before, okay? You're Year 10 now, so you've done multiple um, reports where you've had to do a background information, okay, and it's pretty standard. The purpose of the background information, and I'll highlight this right here. The purpose of the background information is to give the reader the required knowledge to understand the research question. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to break down all the key elements in the research question. Okay, so essentially, a reader can come along and when they read your background information and they have everything, all the scientific information there for them to understand what's going to happen in the rest of the assignment. Okay, so if there's any you know anything that needs to be defined, if there's anything that you need to clarify, so the reader can understand the research question, okay, anything you need to break down, this what happens here in the background information. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you two examples. One, we're going to go through the A-level standard example essay report, sorry, that is up on OneNote for you guys to look at and break it down. And also we're going to do look at one ourselves with our that same lollipop example that I talked about when we did the video explaining how to get to the research question. So, looking at the A-level example here, we see we start with the rationale, but we're actually going to write this last. But you can see they mention the claim, they break down the rationale, they finish with their research question. Okay, the next then part of the assignment is straight into the background information. All right, we'll do this last, but you should have this research question completed, all right, from your claim, all right, and then it's time to start writing this part here, your background information. All right, so with the A-level example here, I'll read a little bit and then we'll break it down what it's actually saying. Okay, it says now. Well, hang on first. The claim that it's talking about here is this: human evolution is still occurring. Obviously, this is a completely different assignment to one that you're doing. Okay, and they've turned that research question into: is the prevalence of lactose intolerance in Finland linked to the practice of domesticating cattle for dairy purposes? So it's saying how common the commonness of lactose intolerance in Finland, is that linked to domesticating cows for drinking milk? Okay, that is the research question. So what they've done in their background information. Very first sentence. Lactose is the main carbohydrate found in milk. Typically, human infants can readily digest milk in order to grow and develop due to the presence of an enzyme lactase in their intestine. All right. The production of this enzyme typically declines in adulthood, removing a significant source of available dietary carbohydrate. Some humans continue to express lactase throughout their adult life and are thus able to digest lactose found in fresh milk. This trait is called lactase persistence, or LP for short. And the frequency of this phenotype is found in about 35% of adults living in the world today. This was referenced by Garibaldi, 2011. So what that is saying is, first up, what is lactose? It told me straight away. I read that, I know what lactose is. Okay, and then it told me what the relationship between lactose and humans is. Alright, because in this research question we're looking at, is the prevalence of lactose intolerance in Finland linked to the domesticating of cows. Alright, obviously the main part of that is lactose, and so you can't be lactose intolerant if we don't know. We can't talk about lactose intolerance if we don't know what lactose is in the first place to be intolerant to it. Okay, and obviously lactose intolerance is something that happens within the human body. Okay, so the first thing, the very first part, very first key element of this research question is lactose intolerance. Okay, so what we've done in this background information here, it has given me, the reader, information on what lactose is and the relationship between lactose and the human body. So I have an understanding now, okay, of what lactose is. Obviously, we have the ability to break down lactose when we're a kid, and a lot of us lose that ability as we get older and we get develop this trait called and a lot of us lose the ability to digest that lactose later on in life when we become adults. Okay, and that's what we call lactose intolerance. So, moving on to the next part. I'm not going to read all of it, but it says, according to Ward 2009, through tracing the genetic markers of previous generations and early Europeans, particularly from Sweden and Denmark, had the capacity to digest milk, while others from China and Africa from a similar time period appear to have had a milk intolerance. Okay, so what it's talked about there is it's starting to mention now, linking this back to evolutionary traits. It explains how evolutionary traits can be traced from their origins. Because part of this research question is obviously about lactose intolerance, and if it's been linked to domesticating cattle purposes. Domesticating cattle for dairy purposes. Now, the evidence in this assignment here that they've written has to do about the type of cattle, okay, that's been domesticated. All right. So obviously, it's what it's telling you is that's the people that have domesticated the normal average dairy cow versus other types of people who had used to have domesticated reindeer to get that they used to milk and drink their milk from. Okay, so obviously certain areas had certain different types of cattle, all right, and that's going to affect how they actually develop this persistence to lactose or not. Okay, so it starts to explain how these evolutionary traits can be linked back, okay, to their origins of earlier on. Okay, in this case, it explains that the mutation to tolerance to tolerate lactase was caused by different mutations depending on the location. So people from China and Africa had different mutations within their bodies to people from Sweden and Denmark. Okay, then makes the link between location and dairy farming practice. Down here it says obviously these areas had different dairy farming practices, hence why they've had different origins and therefore had different mutations. All right. And then it concludes the background by linking the practice of dairy farming and evolution by mutation. So they're the two main parts of this research question: is linking the practice of dairy farming, okay, and the evolution by mutation causing this lactose intolerance. So they have now linked this first part of this research question to the end part of the research question. All right. Told us how it links and given us all the background information. Okay, it's just about breaking down the key elements of the research question, so the reader has all the information there. All right, now I'm going to look at our lolly example that I talked about in our last video on how to bake the research question. Sorry. The claim that we had there, the example was lollies make people happy. All right, and the research question that we turned from that was, does providing students at Chisholm College with lollipops daily increase their productivity? Evidence in increasing their grades. Okay, you might remember that from when I talked about how to build the research question. Okay, now, again, how to write a background information for this research question is going to be about breaking down all the key elements of this research question. The key elements of this research question is, obviously, first and foremost, lollipops. Okay, we're saying that lollipops are increasing productivity. Okay, by giving the kids and enticing the kids to have better grades. So, what are lollipops made from? What are in lollipops? Okay, how are these lollipops impacting the human body? Because if we work out how lollies are made and how they impact the human body, that's going to give us a little bit more information to be able to understand, make the link to be understand why they're actually increasing productivity and uh, evidencing in better grades. Okay. And then the next part is, what does being productive usually result in? Because in the part of this research question here, it says, does providing students at Chisholm Catholic College with lollipops daily increase their productivity? Well, what does being productive usually result in? Get more completed, more time for revision, and then obviously because of that, increased feeling of success. Okay, and that's going to be linked to your happiness, which is in your claim here. So again, I'm giving the information here to explain this key element of my research question, productivity, explaining what does it mean to be productive, all right, and even further, can even link this back to my claim, okay, and explaining that that productivity is a measurement of happiness that we're taking with our claim. Okay, and the last thing that it does is it makes the link, okay, that the properties of lollipops can be linked to bettering of grades, because that's essentially the whole research question. And again, the last part of your background is going to be the same. Okay, it's going to link the parts of your research question together. Okay, makes the links to the properties of lollipops. So why these lollipops, what's in these lollipops, how is it being linked to getting better grades. Okay, going to break down that key information. Okay, you want to provide information about the key elements of the research question and state the relationship between them. Okay, don't overthink it. All right, you are literally just looking at the key points of your research question and breaking it down so the reader can understand the background information behind it, the science behind it. Okay, what is it? Okay, how does it all link together? Okay, you can even go as far as linking the parts of the research question even back to the parts of the claim and how that actually makes sense. Okay, how it's linked. All right, make those links. Give me, that's the key takeaway. All right, state the key scientific evidence, okay, that explains the scientific research, that explains each of the key points of the research question, and make those links. Okay, state the relationship, relate it all together, make those links. All right. Hopefully this helps, guys. That's what you're going to be working on now, and I'll make another video shortly explaining the next part of the assignment, which is going to be the evidence section, which is a little bit longer. All right, thank you very much.